Okay, so as we looked at in yesterday's class, we said that our circulatory system was made up of three parts. The blood, which we looked at, okay, so we have our blood plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. The second thing it's made up of is called blood vessels, and the final thing which we'll come to is heart. We're going to look at the blood vessels now today, okay? So we have three types of blood vessels, okay? The first type we have are called arteries, okay? And arteries carry blood away from the heart. A way to remember this is artery for A, away for A. So A for artery and A for away. And we will be looking at the heart in our next class. So A for artery, A for away. So always carries blood away from the heart. There is a strong flow of blood, okay? So the blood here is under very high pressure, okay? So that means that if it's under high pressure, it's going to have a very strong flow of blood. If we look at veins then, veins are opposite and they're going to carry blood to the heart. And they are going to have or carry the blood under low pressure. And because of that, they need to have valves, okay? Because otherwise, because the blood isn't really being pumped that hard, the blood would end up just stagnating, stopping. So we have to have valves present in our veins, and they prevent the blood from going back where they came from. So they basically keep driving the blood forward. And the final type of blood vessel we have then is called a capillary or capillaries. And these are found between our arteries and our veins. They have very thin walls, and because they have very thin walls, they allow different materials to be transferred through them into the cells, okay? Because, as I said, of these very thin walls, they can be used to exchange gases. Now, this is a very important diagram. I have my artery here, okay? And this is my artery, which is carrying my blood away from the heart into my cells, okay? And my cells are my building blocks of life. And inside this artery, it contains two big things. It contains glucose and oxygen. Okay, glucose has been got from my digestive system when I've digested the food I've eaten, and oxygen comes from breathing in through my respiratory system and my lungs. Okay, this capillary then is where I have my cells. And remember, all living things respire, and we've looked at respiration, and when they respire, they need glucose and oxygen. So what happens is that in these capillaries, my glucose and my oxygen leaves the arteries, and it goes into each of the cells, and my cells then are going to use my glucose and use my oxygen. And when they do that, they are going to produce wastes. Some of the wastes that my cells produce are carbon dioxide, urea, and then just other wastes. And again, because my capillary walls are so thin, my carbon dioxide, my urea, my wastes, they can go from my cells into the capillaries. And then this then is brought back to the heart using my vein. This is where my cells are. And remember, all cells require respiration. All living things respire. They use glucose and oxygen to produce carbon dioxide and water. Okay, that would be one of my wastes here. And obviously energy. The energy is what I use. So the glucose and oxygen, because the capillaries have thin walls, can seep from the capillaries into my cells. And likewise then, once my cells use this glucose and oxygen, they are going to allow their wastes, again, the carbon dioxide, the urea, the wastes are going to seep from the cells back into the capillaries. And all those wastes then are going to be carried back into the heart by the vein. So remember, artery carries blood away into the heart. The capillary allows the glucose and oxygen to go from the blood into my cells. The capillary also allows my wastes, my carbon dioxide and my urea, my water, to go back from my cells into the capillaries and then into my vein and back to my heart. So 3 blood vessels: An artery carries blood away from the heart, my vein carries blood to the heart, and my capillary is responsible for my gases being exchanged.